Hello friends, welcome to the HFY Ode, where we bring you new science fiction stories, a new world, a new adventure. And yes, there is no robotic or AI voices here, only real human voices with real human touch. So let's start this journey, and please subscribe my channel if you like the stories and press the bell icon for the latest updates. Let's have a story. Okay.
This is worth stating plainly, because we at the Vorth Continuance pride ourselves on expecting most things. We are, after all, not a single mind but a chorus of 417 individual crystalline nodes, each one processing environmental data at a rate that would reduce most biological nervous systems to something resembling warm soup. We had been observing salvage yard Cathara 9 for 11 rotations prior to her arrival. We had cataloged every drifting hull fragment, every isotope signature bleeding off the dead star's corona, every pressure variance in the debris field's outer shell. We had not cataloged her. She arrived in a docking vessel that our records listed as decommissioned, not retired, not repurposed, decommissioned, which is a word that means the thing in question has been looked at carefully by people who know what they are doing and collectively agreed that it should no longer exist in operational capacity. The hull was patched in no fewer than 14 places, each patch a slightly different shade of gray, giving the whole vessel the aesthetic quality of something that had lost an argument with a debris field and then showed up to work the next day anyway. She stepped out before the docking clamps had fully engaged. We noted this. We filed our first lethality estimate, a routine procedural action on our part, one we perform for all biological entities entering high-risk salvage environments. The estimate came back at 63% probability of fatality within the first standard hour. This felt conservative, given the vessel, given the early exit from said vessel, given the environment in question. Her name, we would later determine, was Sarah Voss, age 29 by human calendrical reckoning, certified salvage technician, 3rd class. Her certification record showed a number of commendations buried under a significantly larger number of incident reports, which we found to be a pattern that appeared frequently in human documentation, and which we had not yet developed a satisfying framework for interpreting. She was not large, by human standards or any other. Medium height, compact build, hair pulled back in the specific way humans adopt when they intend to do something that might result in their hair getting caught in machinery. She wore a pressure suit that matched her vessel in terms of its relationship with the concept of retirement, functional, clearly, but carrying the visual biography of someone who used equipment until it had thoroughly exhausted all remaining opinions about being used. She stood at the entrance to the yard and looked at it for a long moment. Then she cracked her knuckles. We filed an updated lethality estimate. The action of cracking one's knuckles carries no tactical relevance that we could determine. We updated to 61%, reasoning that if she was relaxed enough to engage in comfort behaviors, perhaps the environment was less immediately threatening to her than our models suggested. She then pulled out a battered datapad, scrolled through something, made a sound that our acoustic sensors logged as a short exhale through the nose, and tucked the pad away. "All right," she said to no one present. She walked in. We watched her move through the outer debris corridor with a particular quality of attention we reserve for things we do not yet understand. Her path was not straight. It was not, as far as we could determine, optimized for speed or safety by any of the 17 navigational models we ran concurrently. She stepped around certain hull fragments and over others. She paused at irregular intervals, pressing one gloved hand flat against a drifting piece of plating and holding it there for several seconds before moving on. Node 214 suggested she was performing some form of ritual. Node 398 suggested she was experiencing a navigational malfunction. We noted both suggestions and set them aside. We kept watching. What we had not yet told her what she could not have known from external observation. Given that our sensor buoys in this section had been damaged 11 days prior in a micrometeorite event, was that Cathara 9 was no longer simply a salvage yacht. It was also, as of 8 days ago, home to a reclaimer-class mining construct that had experienced what the engineering documentation would politely term a containment failure of its behavioral governance matrix. Less politely, it had gone rogue. The reclaimer class was not designed for combat. It was designed to compress, to crush, to reduce large volumes of decommissioned material into manageable dense forms for transport. It weighed, in Cathara 9's minimal gravitational assist, approximately the same as a small residential building. Its primary compression arms could exert pressures that we had, for our own academic interest, calculated to be sufficient to reduce most known structural alloys to something you could theoretically pour. It had been dormant in the inner yard for 8 days, running on residual power, and doing what rogue constructs of its type typically do in their dormant phase. Waiting, we considered for approximately 0.3 seconds whether to warn Sarah Voss. We then considered that our communications array in this sector was also among the casualties of the micrometeorite event. We filed a revised lethality estimate. 88%. The construct registered her presence at the 4-minute and 17-second mark. We know this because we observed the moment its dormant sensor array came online. A slow, sequential illumination of system after system, like something very large and very patient opening its eyes. It had been waiting in the deep interior of the yard, nestled between the collapsed chassis of 2 bulk freighters, its compression arms folded inward in a configuration that served the dual purpose of conserving power, and, we noted with some discomfort, resembling very closely the posture of a thing pretending to be inert salvage. Sarah was approximately 240 meters from it when it woke up. She had stopped again, hand flat against a large curved plate of hull material, head slightly tilted. We had by this point logged 11 separate instances of this behavior and had graduated from node 214's ritual hypothesis to a newer working theory involving material resonance assessment, though we held this loosely. She tapped the plate twice with 2 fingers, listened, tapped again. The construct took its first step. In zero-gravity environments, large objects in motion behave according to principles that are, technically speaking, the same as everywhere else. The difference is that there is nothing to stop them. The reclaimer class moved with the slow, inevitable quality of something that has done the arithmetic on momentum and found the results agreeable. It did not rush. Rogue governance matrices we had observed in prior incidents retained the occupational patience of whatever function the construct was originally designed for. This one had been designed to take its time and apply pressure until something gave. It applied that same philosophy. We revised our estimate. 92%. Sarah heard it before she should have been able to, which was the first thing she did that we could not account for with any model currently in our processing array. The construct had not yet cleared the freighter chassis. It had not yet come into her visual range. The acoustic signature of its movement at that distance, in this environment, was below the threshold we had calculated for human auditory detection. She heard it anyway. She turned. She looked directly at the gap between the 2 freighter hulls, at the darkness there, at the thing moving through it, and her expression did something we found difficult to categorize. It was not the expression our xenobiological records associated with fear, though fear was present. It was also not the expression associated with surprise. It landed somewhere between the 2 and slightly to the left, in a territory our records labeled inadequately as recognition. As if she had been expecting something, not this specific thing perhaps, but something of this category. Okay, she said to no one again. She did not run. We want to be precise about this because it is important, and because it caused a minor processing dispute among 43 of our nodes that took nearly 2 full seconds to resolve. She did not run. She stood in place and watched the reclaimer class emerge from between the freighter hulls, all 400 and some tons of it, compression arms beginning their slow extension outward as its targeting systems completed their lock. And she stood there, watching it the way she had been watching the hull fragments. Like she was reading it. We filed a new estimate. 94%. Node 6 quietly suggested we might be filing these estimates too frequently. We overruled Node 6. She ran on the 7th second. This was, we noted, not panic. The distinction matters because panic has a particular signature in biological movement, an abandonment of optimization in favor of raw speed and maximum distance from threat. What Sarah did was not that. She moved fast, yes, but she moved at a specific angle, not directly away from the construct, but roughly 40 degrees off that line, toward a cluster of compressed hull debris on the yard's western side. We ran the trajectory. It made no sense. The debris cluster she was moving toward was a dead end. 3 large hull sections had drifted into alignment over the past few days, creating a rough alcove with no exit vector that our models identified as viable for a human-sized entity. She was running, at considerable speed, directly into a trap that the environment had constructed entirely without her input and seemingly without her awareness. We revised upward. 96%. The reclaimer class followed. It did not need to match her speed. It needed only to maintain her trajectory in its targeting solution and continue moving, which it did with the calm persistence of something that has never once in its operational history failed to eventually compress the thing it was compressing. Sarah hit the debris cluster and did not stop. She went up, not with any thruster assist. Her suit's mobility pack was clearly visible on her back and remained completely inactive throughout. She hit the curved face of the outermost hull section in a run and used it. Used the angle of it and the zero-gravity environment and some precise calibration of her own momentum that 41 of our nodes attempted to model simultaneously, and none completed before it was already over. She ran up the curve of the hull, made a sharp redirecting push at its apex, and came off the top in a new direction entirely. Back the way she'd come, at a lower altitude, skimming between 2 drifting plate sections with a margin our sensors measured at approximately 11 centimeters on either side. We stare. We are a hive mind. We do not technically stare. We maintained sensor focus in a way that we later agreed was functionally equivalent. The reclaimer class adjusted. It was slow to do so. Its targeting system was sophisticated, but had been designed for objects that moved in predictable industrial patterns. It had not been designed for Sarah Voss. It turned with the particular quality of something that is very large and very committed to its current operational objective, and is therefore not going to be deterred by something as minor as its target behaving unexpectedly. It came after her. She was already somewhere else. We filed an updated estimate. 93%. Downward revision. We noted the revision with some internal discomfort. She moved through the debris field in a way that we kept trying to classify and kept failing to. It was not random. We were certain of that within the first 60 seconds, because random movement in an environment like this produces a particular distribution of directional choices, and Sarah's choices did not match that distribution at all. But it was also not any of the 17 optimized pathfinding models we ran against her trajectory. It was something else, something that appeared from the outside to share several visual qualities with complete improvisational chaos, but which kept producing outcomes that chaos would not have produced. She never hit anything. The debris field in Cathara 9's inner yard was dense. Drifting plates, rotating chassis fragments, the slow tumble of decompressed cargo containers, loose collections of smaller material that moved in loose gravitational relationships with the larger pieces and shifted in unpredictable because it was large and the field was dense, and that was simply the physics of the situation. Sarah struck 0. Node 174 suggested she might be receiving navigational assistance. We were not detected. Node 301 suggested she had somehow memorized the yard's debris configuration in advance. Node 88 suggested we should all be very quiet and pay very close attention. We elected to follow Node 88's guidance. We filed another estimate because at this point it had become a process we were somewhat committed to. 89%, another downward revision. We deleted the estimate almost immediately and filed a fresh one. 89%, it felt dishonest to go lower. It also felt dishonest not to. The construct made a grab for her at the 4-minute mark. One compression arm extending at a speed that was genuinely impressive for its mass, sweeping through the space she had been occupying. She wasn't there. She had moved 2 seconds before the arm extended, cutting sharply left and sliding between a rotating cargo container and a fixed support strut with a clearance that our sensors measured as, and we want to be precise here, approximately 7 centimeters. She came out the other side and stopped. Just stopped, grabbed a handhold on a nearby strut and held herself in place, and turned back to look at the construct. It was the same look as before, that look that sat between recognition and assessment. Her breathing was elevated. Our sensors could determine that much from chest movement, but her hands were steady. She tilted her head at the construct in a way that reminded several of our nodes, uncomfortably, of the way she had tilted her head at the hull fragments. Like she was reading it. Like she had been reading it this entire time. There it is, she said quietly. We had no idea what she meant. We filed an estimate, 77%. Node 6 said nothing. We appreciated this. She stopped running after that. Not because the construct had stopped. It hadn't. It was still moving toward her with the same unhurried inevitability as before, its compression arms now fully extended, its targeting solution locked. It was perhaps 90 meters away and closing. By any reasonable calculation of the situation, this was the moment at which running was not merely advisable, but essentially the only remaining option with any probability of positive outcome attached to it. Sarah let go of the strut and drifted gently into the open space between herself and the construct. 41 of our nodes initiated emergency estimate protocols simultaneously. The remaining nodes watched her hands. She had pulled something from her suit's hip kit, a tool of some kind, small enough to sit in one palm, which she turned over twice before holding it loosely at her side. We identified it after a moment as a standard pressure gauge. Not a weapon, not a navigational device. A pressure gauge of the type used to assess structural integrity in salvage assessment work. She held it the way someone holds a familiar thing, a comfortable thing, without looking at it. She was looking at the construct. Reclaimer class, right, she said. Not a question. Her voice had settled into something flat and focused, the elevated quality of the chase gone from it entirely. Mark IV or Mark V. The construct did not respond. Rogue governance matrices retain operational function, not communicative function. It kept moving. Mark IV, she decided, watching it. The V-series changed the arm articulation housing. Yours is the older sleeve joint. You've got about 15 degrees less lateral range than you think you do on the left arm. Could have told you that from the way you've been leading your grabs. She paused. You've been leading with the right because you know the left is the weaker side. Don't think that's the governance matrix. Think that's just wear pattern. We processed this. She was explaining to a rogue mining construct what she had observed about its own mechanical deficiencies. The construct reached for her. She moved not a run, not even a dash, just a clean, precise sidestep that took her out of the compression arm's path by a margin that our sensors, by this point deeply invested in the measurement, logged at 9 centimeters. She moved in the direction of the arm's extension, not away from it. for 8 days on residual charge. Your accumulator isn't full, probably not even close. The construct swung at her again, right arm the stronger one. She wasn't there. She had already moved, drifting toward the left side, toward the weak joint, toward a position that placed her between the construct's extended right arm and the bulk of its chassis. A position that, we calculated in real time, would be catastrophically dangerous if the right arm retracted on the compression cycle. She had calculated this too. The Mark IV accumulator, she said, holding the pressure gauge up and reading it with the same calm she used to read the hull plates when she first arrived, has a known fatigue issue in the lateral feed line. 8 days dormant, then a full activation cycle. The pressure variance would be significant. She looked at the gauge. She looked at the construct's chassis. She looked at a specific point on the lateral housing that we had not, until that moment, identified as significant. She pressed herself flat against a drifting plate of hull material and held on. "There it is," she said again. We still didn't know what she meant. Then she spoke directly to us, which should have been impossible because she did not know we were there. "Whoever's watching," she said, looking out toward where our nearest surviving sensor buoy was mounted, "you might want to log this part." Node 6 made a sound that our internal acoustic registry had never previously cataloged. We filed an estimate. We deleted it. We watched. She did 3 things in quick succession. The first was small. She released the hull plate she'd been holding and gave it a single precise push, sending it drifting at an angle into the path of the construct's extended right arm. Not hard enough to damage, hard enough to interrupt. The arm made contact, deflected off course by the unexpected resistance, its compression cycle triggering on empty air. The second was this. She moved immediately to the construct's left side, to that weak sleeve joint, and she did not hit it. She did not have a weapon, and she was not attempting to damage it through force. What she did was find a specific panel on the lateral housing, a maintenance access point, recessed and small, and she pressed her pressure gauge against the seam of it with both hands, and held it there with her full weight and the leverage of a foot braced against the chassis. 9 centimeters. We kept coming back to that number. The margin she worked in. The construct tried to reach her with its left arm and could not because the arm was disabled, but because she was inside the arm's minimum operational radius. She had placed herself in the one location the compression arm could not reach, because it was not designed to compress things that were directly attached to it. She held her position. She held it for 11 seconds. On the 12th second, something happened in the construct's lateral housing that our sensors registered as a rapid and uncontrolled pressure release in the hydraulic feed line. The seam Sarah had her gauge pressed against open. Not explosively. That is important. It did not rupture or shatter. It opened. The way old material opens when the fatigue has been building for years, and something finally provides the exact pressure at the exact point that the material can no longer negotiate. A controlled failure. A failure, we slowly understood, that she had been engineering for the entire duration of this encounter. Not from the moment she stopped running, but from the moment she arrived and started reading the hull plates. She had been building a picture of this environment, of the materials in it and their ages and their wear patterns. And when she found the construct, she had started building a picture of it too. The hydraulic pressure lost dropped both compression arms simultaneously. They fell, not collapsed, but descended in the zero-gravity environment with a slowness that had something almost dignified about it. And the construct's locomotion system followed 17 seconds later as the pressure loss propagated through its systems. It drifted to a slow halt against the bulk of one of the freighter hulls. Inert, Sarah held her position against its chassis for several more seconds, gauge still pressed to the seam, watching the readout. Then she exhaled, long, slow, the exhalation of someone releasing something they had been holding considerably tighter than they appeared to be, and she pushed gently off the chassis and drifted back into open looked at the construct for a moment. Mark IV, she confirmed to no one. She tucked the pressure gauge back into her hip kit. We had a lethality estimate half process. We looked at it for some time. Then Node 88 quietly suggested that we retire the estimate protocol for the remainder of this observation session. And for once, all 417 nodes agreed without dispute. We watched Sarah Voss drift through the debris field, back toward the outer corridor, back toward the entrance. She moved the same way she had moved on the way in, not straight, not optimized by any model we possessed, pausing at intervals to press her hand flat against a piece of drifting material and listen. At one point, she stopped entirely, pushed a slowly rotating chassis fragment 30 degrees off its current angle, and continued on. We ran the projection on why she might have done this and determined, 14 seconds later, that the fragment had been on a slow collision course with a cluster of pressurized cargo units that would have eventually, in approximately 3 days, produced a significant decompression event. She had corrected it without breaking stride, without being asked, without anyone knowing it needed to be done except her. We held a brief internal session on this. It lasted approximately 4 seconds, which for a 417-node collective processing at our throughput rate represents what a single biological mind might describe as a long, quiet sit with a difficult thought. The thought was this: we had watched Sarah Voss for the entire duration of her presence in Cathara 9, and we had at no point correctly predicted what she was going to do next. Not once. We had filed 11 lethality estimates, revised them in both directions multiple times, run 47 concurrent behavioral models, and drawn on the full depth of our xenobiological record on human behavior in crisis environments. We had been wrong about the debris cluster. We had been wrong about the running. We had been wrong about the pressure gauge. We had been wrong, most significantly, about what it meant that she had not run when the construct first appeared. We had interpreted it as malfunction, as confusion, as the biological equivalent of a processing error. It had been none of those things. Node 214 retracted the ritual hypothesis. It did so quietly, without prompting, and we appreciated the dignity of that. Node 301 retracted the navigational assistance hypothesis. Node 174 suggested, carefully, that perhaps human expertise in a given domain produced behavioral signatures that were, from the outside, indistinguishable from irrationality until the moment they resolved into outcome, and that this might mean our models for predicting human behavior in crisis environments were not merely incomplete, but were incomplete in a specific and systematic way that we had not previously identified. This generated significant internal discussion. We were still processing the implications when Sarah reached the outer dock. She paused at the entrance, the same spot she had stood at the beginning, before she cracked her knuckles and walked in. She stood there and looked back at the yard for a moment. Then she pulled out her battered datapad and made several entries on it, with the methodical speed of someone completing standard post-job documentation. We observed, with what we can only describe as considerable curiosity, that she appeared to be writing an incident report. She was writing an incident report. In the incident report, as best as our optical sensors could resolve from this distance, she was describing the construct's location, its estimated remaining power levels, its hydraulic failure point, and we had to run the optical resolution twice to confirm this, a recommended maintenance access procedure for the retrieval team that would need to come deal with it. She was, in short, making it easier for whoever came next. She finished her notes, tucked the datapad away, and stepped back toward her vessel. She stepped through the docking clamps before they had fully engaged on exit. Same as arrival. We noted this. Her decommissioned ship fired its engines on the second attempt and moved off from the dock in a direction that was, technically, not the optimal departure vector, but which avoided a slowly drifting debris cluster that our long-range sensors had detected from her position. She took the long way around something she shouldn't have known was there. We did not file an estimate for this. We watched her ship until our sensor range lost it in the corona scatter of the dead star, which took 3 minutes and 40 seconds. In that time, we held no internal debates, processed no competing hypotheses, and generated no formal documentation. We simply watched. Node 88 said eventually she knew we were here. No one disputed this. We had all arrived at the same conclusion through the same uncomfortable route, that a human with a pressure gauge and a decommissioned ship and a certification record buried under incident reports had detected our sensor buoy, assessed our likely operational status in this damaged sector, determined that we were present but unable to communicate, and spoken directly to us at the exact moment she wanted the record to show what she was doing and why. She had included us in the documentation. We found this and we want to be precise, because precision is what we are. We found this disquieting, not in the threatening sense, in the sense of a thing that moves something around inside you and leaves the furniture in a slightly different arrangement than before. Node 214, who had proposed the ritual hypothesis, said, "I would like to revise my initial framework." We said yes. Node 214 said, "I do not think she was performing a ritual. I think she was reading. I think reading, for her, looks like ritual from the outside because the knowledge it produces appears to emerge from nothing." We considered this for some time. We had 417 nodes and access to 11 active star systems worth of accumulated xenobiological data, and we had watched a human woman with a pressure gauge walk into a zero-gravity salvage yard, occupied by a rogue industrial crusher, and we had not, at any point, understood what she was doing until she had already done it. Node 6, who had been quiet for most of this, said, "Perhaps the lethality estimates were always the wrong question." We asked what the right question was. Node 6 said, "Perhaps we should have been asking what she was building." We stayed with that. Outside, the dead star shed its light across the debris field with the patient constancy of something that had been doing this for longer than our records extended, and Cathara 9 drifted on in its long, slow orbit, and somewhere in it, a reclaimer-class mining construct sat quietly against a freighter hull with its arms down, compressed at last into something manageable. And we began, carefully